Hey plant fam! Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Jaclynn. This is my jungle, and if you're not new here, thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate you. And today I thought it would be fun to do something that we talk about often on this channel, and it is my underwatering habits. And don't get me wrong, like, these habits do not translate to my anthurium for whatever reason, but for the rest of my plants, I have a problem. I forget to water stuff. So I thought it would be fun to compile a list of plants that I believe are underwater friendly, which means you cannot water these plants for like a really long time and they won't die. So these are all based off of experience. These are all plants that I actually have. There are lots more than this, and every genus that I talk about probably has multiples, but I wanted to just talk about specific plants in my collection that I have gone extended periods of time not watering, and they were fine. Granted, you know, obviously if you wait too long, they will die. So this isn't a video about plants that you never have to water. Your plants need water, okay? Like, it's pretty essential. They need water to survive and thrive and grow, but things happen. And I have a lot of plants. So sometimes, you know, things get forgotten, things get neglected, they get skipped over on watering days, and these are the plants in my collection that I have noticed don't really seem to mind. So the first one on my list today, of course, is going to be a Hoya, because I mean, when you think about plants that you can't kill by not watering them, aside from cacti, I didn't put any cacti on this list because I feel like that's just like really obvious. You don't need to water cacti that often, and they will be fine, but they do have a lot of light requirements, so that's something to consider as well. But they're not on this list today, but Hoya shouldn't be surprising. Now, that does not mean that all Hoya are going to be super drought tolerant and be fine with you not watering them that much. They still want to be watered, you guys. Like, they will appreciate it if you consistently water them. The more consistent I am with watering my Hoya, the more they grow. But on the flip side, if you forget, there are a handful that are not going to really punish you that much for it. And the one that really stands out the most to me, that I have gone extended periods of time not watering and it was still fine, is the Hoya species Affinis Burtoniae. This is the only one I have left, ironically, because I didn't water the other one and it died. So, like, you still have to water them, and also, like, the size of the plant matters too. So since this is a smaller plant, obviously I'm gonna have to water this one more frequently than I would a big hanging basket. But regardless, I don't know what it is about these leaves. They're pretty small, but they're also quite thick. So honestly, if you forget to water her, she'll probably just bloom a whole bunch for you. So if you are wondering what Hoya you can get that will be fine if you go on vacation for a couple of weeks and come home and it'll be all shriveled up, but it won't be dead, is this one. So there are lots more, obviously, like my obovata can go quite some time without being watered, my fungii, Sarawak, there are tons. As long as they have like a thicker leaf, usually they can handle going longer between waterings because they are semi-succulent, so they do hold on to quite a bit of water in their leaves. So if you are going away, it is just nice to water your plants like literally right before you go, and then you don't have to worry about it. So Hoya species Affinis Burtoniae is, it's kind of foolproof. You can't mess this one up. I've had this little guy for a long time. I'm pretty sure it had flat mites at some point in time, and that's why it just never grows for me, but that's fine. Everything is fine. So this is the only Hoya that I did put on the list, but of course I would love to hear in the comments below which Hoya you have in your collection that you find to be particularly drought tolerant. All right, so it wouldn't be appropriate if I didn't put an anthurium on the list, and you might be thinking, wait a minute, aren't all anthurium super thirsty? And the answer is yes, but no. They do tend to lean more on the moist side. They like being moist, but every single species is different. Same with Hoya. It's really not a good idea to generalize a whole entire group of plants when there are so many species usually within the genus, and they all vary slightly. So I'd say that there are a lot more anthurium that are thirsty versus ones that can go a bit longer without water, but the one that really stands out as the most tolerant to being underwatered is the anthurium luxurians. So here is one of mine. As you can tell, this is a very glossy plant. This is a very thick leaf, and that is how you're gonna know what type of care your anthurium needs. So usually these glossier leaves are not gonna need as much humidity, so these are really good for those people who don't have cabinets, who just want to be able to grow their plants in their regular space. The anthurium luxurians is the type of anthurium that can very seamlessly fit into the rest of your houseplant collection, and it's not going to give you a ton of problems if you forget to water it or keep it in a lower humidity situation. So if you are an underwaterer but you want to get into anthurium, this is definitely going to be a good option. Any kind of glossy one, but this one definitely stands out to me as the easiest. It is a slower grower too, so if you're worried about space, the anthurium luxurians is a really good option for you. So again, if you have a hard time keeping up with watering thirsty plants, but you want to get into anthurium, the luxurians is a good place to start. She's very, very forgiving. I mean, I water her pretty regularly. I don't let her go super dry in between, but she does not want to be wet all the time. So it kind of varies, again, species to species. There are some anthurium that want to always be moist to some degree, and then there are some that like to dry out between waterings, and this is definitely one that likes to dry out between watering. The Doriaki is another one that does not want to be wet all of the time. A lot of these more like strappy Vitarifolium types back here as well, you could totally get away with not watering them as often and growing them in a more ambient situation. So wouldn't be right if I left the anthurium off of the list. There are very, very few that could handle being dry longer than they want to be, and this is definitely one that can handle it. I don't recommend it. I never recommend it, but again, things happen, life happens. Sometimes we get sick, sometimes we have family emergencies, and our plants just kind of end up taking a back seat. This is one that I would not worry about. Even if I came in here and it was droopy and really sad, I'm confident that with a nice good soak, she would bounce right back. So anthurium luxurians is number 2 on my list today of plants that are underwaterer friendly. Okay, so the next one on my list, again, is a genus that you associate usually with being very thirsty, and there's a reason why I don't have very many alocasia in my collection, because I do find them to be thirstier and a little bit more finicky than anthurium, and it's a little bit frustrating, I'm not gonna lie, but again, I'm going to sound like a broken record. Not every single species is going to be the same. So there are some alocasia types that are going to be a lot easier and a lot more drought tolerant, and others that are going to need water all the time. And again, it is usually kind of dependent on how thick the leaves are. So the more jewel type of alocasia, like the dragon scale and the black velvet, stuff like that, are going to be a little bit more hardy and a little bit more drought tolerant, but there's one in particular that I swear, girl, I swear you cannot kill this one. I've been growing her for a while. She lives in my kitchen and she does really, really well there. I water her the same as I water the rest of the plants in my apartment, which is like maybe every 10 days. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I forget to water the ones that are outside of this plant room a lot more than I forget to water the ones that are in the plant room. So number 3 on my list of drought tolerant plants for the underwaterer is this Alocasia cuculata, I don't know. Hey, look at you, so big. Ooh, I just got stabbed in the eye. So this is my Alocasia cuculata, and she was sport variegated, but I don't keep her in very high light, so she's pretty much mostly green now. She does have a little baby over here that's a little bit variegated. I might separate her out and see if anybody wants to take her home. But this is my Alocasia cuculata, and as you can see, she's pretty glossy. Her leaves are pretty, they're thin, but like, I don't know, they're just, this plant is really easy. I'm not gonna lie to you, I haven't even repotted it. This is from Proven Winners. It's still in this whatever soil, just soil with perlite it looks like. I have not done anything special to her. She just lives in my living room with honestly not very bright light, and she does fine. You could see obviously she's leaning towards where the light is, but I would say that this is hands down the easiest Alocasia that I've ever grown. Oh, you can kind of see a little splotch of sport variegation. It's easier to see when the light is actually shining through. But yeah, Alocasia cuculata is number 3 on my list, and surprisingly, she's really easygoing. She's not all that like super exciting, but just as like a regular cute little kitchen plant, I'm really not mad about it. This is a really good just like house plant that can just like chill in the corner of your living room and like not really cause a lot of problems. I haven't had an issue with spider mites or anything on this one. She did have some mealybugs because she was living next to some Hoya, but I moved her and I keep her sprayed with alcohol. It's just really annoying to get mealybugs on a plant that grows like this because they'll go like all in here and cause problems. Alocasia cuculata that keeps stabbing me in the eye is number 3 on my list of underwaterer friendly plants. If you can't tell, I've been trying to cover multiple genera. So let me know in the comments below what Alocasia you have in your collection that you think have been really easygoing and are a little bit more drought tolerant, because I know I'm not the only one who struggles to keep their plants well watered, so I'm sure the rest of the class would really appreciate your input. Okay, so number 4 on my list is one that you guys probably don't even know that I have, because I don't think I talk about it. David and I both purchased this plant separately at some point in time. I think there's like maybe 2 or 3 of them in this pot, and one day I just decided to pot them all up together and put them on a pole and try to tame it. It's hard, I'm not gonna lie, but I do really love this plant, and it is one of those ones that I can go quite a bit without watering and it's still totally fine. Granted, if I water it, it grows a lot better, but it is my Rhaphidophora decursiva. So she's super cute. This was definitely like a more trendy plant a couple years back when I got her, but it is one that I have kept around in my collection because, again, I just really love her. She lives in my living room. You guys would have seen her probably when I revamped my living room and did the cabinet and put the light up and everything in there. She lives out there under that grow light, and she's been doing really well for me. Yeah, there's like 3 separate plants in here. She's really hard to tame, I'm not gonna lie, but we try. We try to at least contain her to this pole to some degree, but a lot of her newer leaves are starting to get fenestrated, and she's just super cute. I think this one's also called like Dragon's Tail or something along those lines, but if you guys have ever grown Rhaphidophora tetrasperma, you would know that they kind of just do their own thing. This one is definitely a slow grower, so if you're looking for a plant that's not gonna just like take over your space immediately, this is a good option. If you are tired of the Monstera and you want something a little bit different that's gonna give you like a similar vibe, the Rhaphidophora decursiva is a really good option. I think Rhaphidophora in general are pretty underrated. It's not something that people really talk about. I don't like the shingling types, but I do like these types that get really big, beautiful leaves, because look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? So Rhaphidophora decursiva is definitely one that you can neglect, and it's gonna be fine. You've got these thick, glossy leaves, and again, if you forget to water your plants, they're probably just gonna lose some of the bottom leaves, but and they're not gonna grow very well for you, but they won't die. This one won't die if you forget to water it for 3 weeks. It just, again, might kill off some of the bottom leaves, and it's probably not going to push out anything new, but it also won't die. So there's that. Let me know, too, in the comments below if you have this one, if I didn't say that already, because I do think she's super underrated, and I look forward to growing her really, really big and hopefully having like a nice big full plant one day. She's just slow. She's a slow grower, but I love that new leaf on her, and I wanted to share her with you today. Okay, so number 5 on my list, it shouldn't be surprising. When you think of drought tolerant plants, I feel like this is one of the first 2 that will probably pop up in your head. The first one being ZZ plants, which I did not bring my ZZ in here today, but you absolutely can go like a month without watering a ZZ and it would be totally fine. But I did bring in my whalefin Sansevieria. Ta-da! Look at her. Isn't she beautiful? She's so big and so gorgeous. And honestly, you can probably put any snake plant on this list in this spot. But I feel like because the whalefin is so big and so thick, that this one in particular can go a very long time without being watered. Granted, you don't want to wait that long. It is not a good thing to just like not water your snake plants at all. I water them probably every couple of weeks, just because you don't want dry rot either, which I didn't even know was a thing until I killed a snake plant that way years ago, way back in the day. I was like, what the heck is going on here? How did I rot a plant that I barely even water? And I realized that when you don't water a plant for a long time, the roots shrivel up. They dry up, they shrivel into nothing, they turn into SpongeBob out of water. And then when you do go to water the plant, the roots just can't handle it. They can't, the little shriveled up raisin roots they can't do anything with that water, so they end up rotting. And that's what dry rot means. So don't do that. But if for some reason you do skip a watering on these, they're gonna be fine. Like the probability of it getting dry rot if you only do it the one time is pretty low. You would have to leave it dry for a really long time for that to happen. So these are the type of plant that if you only want to water something twice a month tops, depending on the time of year and where you keep it. Obviously, if it's in a warmer, sunnier spot, you're gonna have to water it more frequently. But I've gone a really long time without watering this thing. It will start to get like kind of wrinkly. This one hasn't unwrinkled, so I'm just assuming that it's fine. Just like permanently stayed wrinkled. But they'll be fine. So whalefin Sansevieria, pretty much any Sansevieria. They are technically reclassified as Dracaena, but Sansevieria is still also technically correct because all Sansevieria were moved into the Dracaena category, so you can still technically refer to them as Sansevieria, and it's not incorrect because there are no Sansevieria anymore. All of the Sansevieria were moved into Dracaena, if that makes sense. So they can be used interchangeably. I think Sansevieria is just recognized as like outdated and like a former name, but like we all just call them snake plants anyway. So whalefin snake plant, super duper hardy. You really can't kill this thing unless you like go 2 months without watering it and then you drown it. Don't do that. Don't do that. But if you're looking for something a little bit more interesting, I've been seeing quite a bit of these variegated whalefin Sansevierias on the market. I imported this one a couple of years ago and she's just been chilling. And again, they're so thick. the whale fins. Like, they're so thick and sturdy that, like, honestly, I could forget about this thing and it would be probably thriving somewhere in a corner. But I do really love the variegated version as well. 10 out of 10 recommend. Again, these just make a really beautiful houseplant, just like for your home. Not everything needs to be fancy and rare and in a cabinet. There are some people that just don't even like that. They want their plants to just be out in the open and be able to live that way. And if they can't live that way, some people are just not into it, and that's totally fine. Maybe you're into this instead. I like both. This is also David's like favorite pot, so cute. Little cutie. Okay, so number 6, and the last one on my list today, shouldn't be surprising. She's been chilling in the background this whole time, and that is Monstera deliciosa. And honestly, they're probably the easiest, hardiest plant you can possibly have in your collection, even the elbow variegated version. I will not say the same for the Tycon, and I will not say the same for the Aurea or any other variegated Monstera deliciosa, but the elbows are by far the easiest. They are the hardiest. Don't ask me why. My elbows take so much crap and they don't skip a beat at all. It's the Aureas and the mints and the Tycons that I have the trouble with, not the elbows. And this is my sport variegated Monstera deliciosa. This is a large form, so she's a beast. I will try to get her in frame. You guys have seen her quite a bit recently. There is a green side to this plant and then a variegated side to this plant. Sorry, you probably can't hear me as well. Microphone's over there. But we did get a new green leaf. And this is the most recent variegated leaf. And she's working on another one. So this plant is just an absolute dream. She's so easy to grow. And the same can be said, honestly, for any green deliciosa. And I will, again, maintain and stand by the elbow being the easiest of the variegated Monstera. Let me know if you agree or disagree with that in the comments below. That is purely based off of my experience growing these for the last few years. And oof, do I love this girl. She is large form, so she's pretty unruly. I've got her all tied up to this moss pole here, and I just love her. I love her so much. Some of these are her older leaves from when I got her at Lowe's, because literally got her at Lowe's, which is insane. But Monstera deliciosa. Honestly, you can't go wrong with this thing. I have another elbow back here. I don't know if you can see it. I have tons of elbow, even like super high white elbows. And they've been really easy for me to grow. They're very, very drought tolerant. They don't really even brown that much for me, which is kind of crazy. Even if I underwater them, they seem totally fine. It could totally be like an environmental thing in here as well, but even in Connecticut, I had such an easy time growing my elbows. And if you're just looking for something really big and beautiful that's going to be easygoing, you can't go wrong with the deliciosa. I do recommend the large form if you're looking for something that's going to stay more compact and the leaves are going to get really big. Most elbows are small form, which tend to get like a little bit leggier. They have bigger internodal spacing and the leaves don't get quite as big. But if you're limited on space, I suppose that is better. I just got really, really lucky finding this Monstera sport variegated with elbow variegation large form, because large form elbows are like, they're pricey, girl, let me tell you. So this is like my pride and joy, one of my favorite plants. Been growing her for years now. It's been like, I don't know, 2 or 3 years since we got her at Lowe's, and she was like half the size, and I'm just kind of obsessed with her. So let me know if there are any plants that you would add to this list that you have experience with, where you can just forget to water it for weeks on end and the plant is still somehow fine. It might even be blooming or growing for you in that dark corner that you forgot about, and you're like, oh, Okay, so that is it for this video, you guys. I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know if you like videos like this in the comments below, and I'm happy to do some more. And you should give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that good stuff. And of course, if you watched this whole entire video, leave me water, the little water drops emoji, in honor of not watering our plants. Go water your plants. This is your daily reminder to go water your plants. I love you guys so very much. I hope you're having a beautiful day wherever you are out there in the world. And I also hope that I see you in the next one.